How to take apart a Dyson High Torque floor tool and clean it and then put it back together again. The tools you will need is a T8 Torx screwdriver, a cross-headed screwdriver and a flat-headed one, and also a coin. We're going to use the coin to undo the end cap and then pull the brush bar out. If you have one of the new anti-air tangle versions, it will all be the same. You can pull the end cap off too, we'll clean that later. Right, the first screws we're going to undo are the 4 at the front. These are the small Torx screws. Then we have 2 cross-headed screws at the back, 1 on each corner. And then this just lifts up. You may have to use your flat-headed screwdriver like I have done on this. And then the other side just lifts off quite nice and easy like they sometimes do. Once inside, we have 4 Torx screws across the back there. We're just going to undo those. I will fast forward the parts where I'm unscrewing things, it just makes the video a bit quicker. You can pause at any time if you need to. That middle screw there is another Torx screwdriver, and that's actually the shortest screw. It's the smallest one, so when we put it back together later, we'll have to remember that. The front just clips off like so, and then the back panel, if you just put in your flat-headed screwdriver and just turn it, we're not trying to pry it off, we just turn the flat-headed screwdriver and it all just pops off like so. Now underneath we have a hidden screw. Underneath this sticker here there's a small Torx screw which we need to undo. It just allows us to lift off this stem part, so we're not going to be dunking that in the sink. Now the wire just lifts off from there and we can pull away the clear part. We're just going to lift that off like so and then put that to one side. Now we can lift the motor part out. So this whole part here is the motor which turns the brush bar, and then lift off the stem, and now we're left with just the base part and all the other plastic bits which we're going to take to the sink. That part there with the motor on and the stem, just leave that dry. We're not going to clean that at all, it's not worth bothering with. Whilst your sink is running, just cut off any hair from your brush bar. It stops your sink from getting blocked. My wife will tell you I'm good at doing that. Now I'm just going to use a toothbrush. That's not my wife's toothbrush, and any multi-purpose cleaner that you like really. It doesn't really matter, there's no set rules. Just any multi-purpose cleaner and some warm soapy water. Give everything a good spray, everything a good soak, and then obviously use your toothbrush and your paintbrush to scrub them. Oh, I'm on this seal. Yes, there's a seal here that goes around the clear part. I've left it on because it can be a little bit of a pain in the bum to put back on. But if yours comes off, you're wondering why it's there, it's come from the clear part, and you can put it on later when you're refitting things. It's just I tend to just leave it on, and you're never really going to get this clear part absolutely glass clear because the small particles batter it all its life. The best thing to use on the clear part, I think, is like a car polish. Again, it doesn't get it like glass, but it is a good way of getting some of the dirt out of the plastic. Everything else like this, like the brush bar you've just seen and the end caps, is just a general clean. But this part with the spring in and the mechanism at the front, I don't tend to go dunking that purely because, well, they don't get that dirty, and I kind of don't want to lose the spring in the sink, so I tend to just wipe them over. This sole plate part has got these red parts in the front that come down when you're using the vacuum cleaner. I take them out and clean them separately, and then it's just a case of attacking the sole plate part. This tends to be the dirtiest one, so it might take you a little bit longer. And it's that time in the video now where I will ask you to like the video and comment on it if you found it helpful. It does help the video stay alive and get found by other people. Now that's all done, we're going to put all the plastic parts we just cleaned somewhere nice and dry and warm overnight, and then the next day we're going to end up like this, where we can put them back together again. The red things that sit at the front go this way round, so they're a bit like a handlebar moustache. If you look at the seal behind it, it goes that way round, and then they just push in. We will need to play back with them in a little bit, I'll show you how. Right, so that's all done. It should look like that. And now we're going to put the motor back in, but before we do, if you have anything around here like hair and fluff, which is very common for building up, please just get rid of it, cut it out, get rid of it, because it can cause problems. Now this front corner of the motor sits in that little shape there, that little indent, and this part is probably the most fiddliest to put back together. So once we've done this part, you really are out of the woods. It just fits in there. You'll probably swear a few times trying to do this if you've never done it before, but hopefully, again, the video is helping you. So once that's in there, we then put the stem in. Now obviously, it doesn't matter which way around you do this, you could put the stem in first, or the motor, but hey, this is the way around we've done it. And remember to put that screw back in, and that'll secure your stem. Now we're just going to move this wire out the way a little bit. The clear part just fits on top, as long as everything's in place. And the back part kind of fits underneath the stem as such. You'll know what I mean when you see it. Right, once that's all in position, with no gaps at either side, the cable comes out there, that's fine. That's swivelling round. Need to make sure that's always swivelling round, nothing's caught. We can then put it down, and we're gonna look at getting this wire in position. There's two little things that stick out there, and this rubber part sits on top of that. You'll see what I mean. And then there's two little channels within the plastic there. Your wires sit in between those channels, and then this back piece slides on almost as such from behind, just making sure that wires are not going to get caught under it. So I always put that side in first so I know I'm safe. This part, roughly get it in position. It's sometimes a little bit of a battle, that is, and I think I'm just going to give up on that bit for now, and I'm going to do with the other end. We'll do that other end first. So slide that on like so, and then we're going to wrestle with this back bit again. That kind of fits again inside this stem bit, so then when you're turning the stem it swivels nicely. And then we have to obviously secure that with the screws that go underneath. Make sure there's no gaps before we do all that. Now we're going to go underneath inside this rubber part. Incidentally, you can take the rubber off. So there's going to be other videos where they actually fully take off that rubber and put it back on. But you know what? It doesn't cause me any problems leaving it on when I'm cleaning it. So I've not shown you that. We're just going to put those two screws in the corner just to secure that top bit. And then these other two screws that go either side of the stem part. And that, again, that just secures the back plastic panel we've just done. These bits, again, my enemy sometimes, they can be a bit fiddly. They go in the stem end first. You'll see that they're shaped to fit in that certain way. And then they're secured with the cross-headed screws. I really wish they'd just use the same screws on these, and then it wouldn't be so tricky having to remember which one goes where. Right, so that just clips on like that. Again, secured with the screw. Constantly make sure that stem's turning as it should be. It's a habit of mine. Now this front part, this fits on with these little red things at the front that we fitted earlier. We just need to pull them up because there's two little bits that stick out on each of them, and they basically fit inside these little channels that cut out of this red plastic bit. You'll see what I mean here. There we go. So two prongs stick out and they just sit in there, and then it just pushes down once it's all in position. So basically when you're moving that slider across, it means that those red things are going up and down. So yeah, once that's all in position and you're happy, you can put the 4 small Torx screws back in across the front, and obviously make sure that your slider's working as it should be. That actually looks a bit more trickier than it is. I don't find that bit hard. Now your wheels, I should mention these. They're that little bit of fluff there that I missed, but these can get tangled up with hair quite bad. So if you get a flat-headed screwdriver and just pull it up like that, and then get some pliers, some long nose pliers, and just pull the little pivot out, and then you can pull it all out, get any hair off that, and then basically they just push fit back in. You get a little bit of damage on the plastic there, which I don't like about this, but you know what, you've got to take them out to get the hair off really. So you push it in the exact opposite way to what you've took it out, and then finally just push that metal part back in with the flat-headed screwdriver, and then obviously tidy that bit up so it looks a bit neater. Make sure your wheels are spinning fine, but yeah, that's the only way to cleaning your wheels, I'm afraid. Now finally, this tiny screw that we took out earlier. If you've not lost it, you can put that in there. Always lose that one. Now the brush bar, we're just going to push fit the end cap onto it and then push it in like so, and then tightening up the end cap like we did before with the coin. Screwdrivers can damage these, so I always use a coin, making sure the flat part is flat to the floor. If you've made it this far, congratulations, it's time to wake up. I hope you found this video helpful. Please subscribe to my channel for all other Dyson help videos. This next one is if your Dyson is telling you it's blocked, but it isn't.